Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Well, hello, it's Gemma, and this is episode number 281 of the new series of the Cognitive Podcast. This one is called No Place Like Home because it's been that kind of a week. And not just for me. You can see a picture of the two doggos sitting in the back of my very beaten up Prius. They're on their way back from the vets. And as you can probably tell, Queenie is in her own happy place, whereas Captain, the black Newfoundland in the background, is quietly having a crisis of conscience, wondering why she deserved this and what she could do to fix it. At any rate, your comments are welcome. Please feel free to comment on the blog at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com or on our group on Ravelry. In the warm thanks department, y'all have been pretty quiet this week, but I did have a lovely talk with our own Jasmine Knitmore, and that was wonderful. And Jasmine also gets enabler points for stuff I will talk about later in the podcast. But it was great as always, and it's so great to see Jasmine and the Knitmore clan. Many, many warm thanks. I also noticed there was a question over in the Knitmore podcast about how Gigi is doing. And I really don't feel authorized to speak for the family, but let's face it, she's sick. She's having problems, and I'm not going to go beyond that, which is obvious at this point. And so if I were you and you want the answer to that, I would keep an eye on Jasmine's feeds to see if she publishes anything about that. But at this moment, it's complicated, and I really don't feel like I can represent it reasonably. I'm not the spokesperson for them. But what I would say is your kind thoughts are always welcome in that quarter. And, you know, if you have any kind of contact and you just send positive messages, I know that would be appreciated. I also want to thank my listeners, as always, and that includes the people listening to me now and also my real-time communities. Well, I don't know if I'd call Finch real-time, but my communities in Finch and on Reddit, and on the ground in the Santa Clarita and the Antelope Valleys. And if you look, you will see one of my burbs is celebrating completing the Oz mission. They did a trip to the magical land of Oz for March. And it was nicely done. I have to hand it to Finch. They really thought this one out, and they got the connections that Oz is very much about the mental state, the emotional state, the heart as it were, and the state of courage. And I really, really appreciate that. It was a nicely done trip through Oz. The information on CFR 12, there is a link right there in the show notes. And yes, it is scheduled for November 7th, 2026. Yes, I not only have a hotel room, but I also have a vacation day request in. We'll see how that goes. So it's been a pretty exciting week around here. Beyond that, let me tell you what's on my hooks and needles. First, let's start with what's off my hooks and needles. The Tolsta sweater. Boy, this came out great. There is a picture of me wearing it late at night because I was so close to finished one Sunday night that I knitted it till my eyes practically bled. But there it is. And as you can see, that worked out great. I used a size 9 US needle not the 8 that they recommend in the pattern because I did not use DK yarn. I used size 4 worsted weight yarn for that. And the yarn, of course, is Louisa Harding. It's primarily cotton, but it's got some linen and viscose in it. And I like the yarn so much that I'm working on Tolsta II, and the picture is further down in the show notes. I love the fit. As you can see, that thing couldn't fit better if it tried. So I am now on the increase section of the upper body on that. It's just a wonderful pattern. Everything about it works very nicely. In the meantime, I did finish my second pair of Dizzy Laser socks. This is so named because I used Laser Sheep yarn. I think it's the colorway is Brown Coats. And Dizzy Blonde yarn, which is a Sheep of Honor, I believe. So there we go. We got 2 Firefly references there. And you can see the second pair of socks in that colorway. I have cast on, although I don't think I've put it in the show notes yet, I have cast on the third pair to try to use these guys up. However, then there's Jasmine Knitmore, who apparently cottoned on to the fact I'm using up sock yarn and said, yeah, do you know about the Bloodroot tee? The Bloodroot tee is simply a warm weather t-shirt made out of fingering weight yarn. And what an opportunity to use up a lot of fingering weight. I do not want to make a winter or pseudo-winter sweater out of fingering weight. Just too much knitting. Even the Bloodroot tee is a bit much for me. But just too much knitting in a fine yarn. I'm sure the hand would be magnificent, and I'll let you know when I do the Bloodroot. But to me, it's like it's going to take forever to knit that baby. And I don't know that I have enough yarn of a single color to knit a full bore sweater like that. And I don't think it would be warm enough. However, for a summer tee, I'm willing to look at that. So I went through the stash looking for yarns, but I didn't do it soon enough because I went down to Los Feliz last weekend. My son and I were in LA, and he wanted to go to the Science Center, so we took the underground a certain distance together. And then I went onward until I got to, I think it's Vermont and Sunset, from whence I walked uphill 2 blocks, very gentle hill, up Vermont, and landed at the Little Knittery, which is so easily reachable this way or by taking the 180 or 217 bus out from Glendale. At any rate, I got the Little Knittery and I said, oh heavens, I will not have enough coordinating yarns. I will have to have neutral yarns. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, but 6 skeins of neutral, solid color fingering weight yarn later, I escaped the Little Knittery, and I was very happy. And then I came home, and yesterday morning I did this quick stash toss in my most unloved bin that is hidden in my walk-in closet. I found so much semi-solid yarn, I could kick myself. Or I could just use those extra 6 skeins to make yet another Bloodroot tee. Now, the Bloodroot tee, she measures yarn requirements by 25-gram balls. Yeah, I have 100-gram balls of yarn. So anyway, I need about 3 of these babies, possibly 4, but I doubt it. So yes, I could not resist all the bright reds I had. I pulled out some Be Myself yarns, which I loved Be Myself. I really miss her. And I think I've got a skein of Anzula as well in red. So I'm starting with the Be Myself skeins. I've got, I think, 900 yards. So we'll see how far I get on that. And then I have a more solid red for the bottom of it. And I'm just great with this. I just think this is a sensational pattern. It's a very interesting fit. It's a cap sleeve. It is not a raglan. Yes, I'm very tempted to keep making the Tolsta sweaters by holding 2 skeins of sock yarn together. And that could happen too. At any rate, thanks, Jasmine. I have a stash toss now that is 23 skeins in and 41 skeins out. Hopefully these tees are going to take out a few more skeins. In the meantime, let's see what else I've been working on. Well, I finished the socks and the sweater, so not a lot else. But I did start the second Tolsta because I just love the first Tolsta, and the weather is gradually warming up here again, and I'm really looking forward to wearing these this summer, and I'm looking forward to starting one of the bloodroot tees in this in this selection of reds that I have, because it is really fun to knit these little summer t-shirts in lightweight yarns. So we'll see how that goes. In the meantime, no spinning, no quilting. And let's get on to a strategy. Well, I've been listening, of course, as you know, to all of these classes from the Evolution of Psychotherapy conference and really enjoying them. And I was listening to Harville Hendrix, who is half of a wonderful team of couples therapists that also includes his wife, Helen LaKelly Hunt, who's also a very famous feminist. And I was listening to Hendrix talk because Hunt wasn't there, and he was talking about getting along in marriage. And one of the things he said that really hit home was when he works with a couple in the first session, he asks one partner, and it doesn't matter which really, to talk about what their dream is of their ideal relationship with their partner. Now, if you've ever worked with couples, you know that some people are perfectly capable of saying, I'm going to pretend to be the female half. Well, my ideal relationship is he wouldn't be so lazy and he wouldn't be such a butthead, and just on and on about the negativity. Curious thing is Hendrix is not listening to these words. What he is doing is focusing on the partner, and the partner has to summarize periodically what the speaker is saying. So he's focused on, do they even listen to each other? Now, you can tell that's pretty hard to hear if your partner is saying nothing but negative things to you. But Hendrix isn't worried about that. He wants people to repeat each other back. And this is core to Hunt and Hendrix' theory, the imago theory, of how to do therapy, that the couples are not listening. Now, in case you're thinking, well, in my example, that wife is getting away with something here. And yes, it was a cis couple. Don't mean to be cis-centric. It's a habit, sorry. But anyway, you know, you're thinking, well, but that means he's letting this partner get away with saying vicious things. Oh, no. Because he's going to make them both do this exercise. They're both going to have to listen to each other, repeat each other back, and summarize. So nobody escapes. But then he makes them sign a pledge, literally sign it, that says, no more negativity. And if you want to hear a great speech, go look them up on YouTube. There's a video, I believe, of Hunt and Hendrix talking about their first week as a couple where they tried to do no negativity with each other. And they talk about how hard it was while they laugh. But you should see them on a stage together. Since they're not doing negativity, what are they doing with each other on the stage? They are looking at each other positively. So you see them just with these expressions of love and affection as they look at each other. And you see them also focused as they listen to each other. So the strategy is stop the negativity. Now, what does negativity even mean, Gemma? That's a really good question. And I don't know the answer, and I'm happy that Harville Hendrix didn't give it to us. He said it's always interesting watching the couples come into session after they sign the pledge and negotiating what is negativity. Like, can we say no negativity towards each other, but I'm going to make fun of your mother? Or I'm going to make fun of my mother? Like, how does this work? And Hendrix very deftly stepped around that. And I love him for that too. But the challenge I want to give you is to stop the negativity with your loved ones. Interesting thing there. We're kind of doing this at home, but I'm not supposed to notice. I think my partner overheard some of this. Or something even more wonderful happened. I took it seriously, and I'm being positive, or at least neutral. And surprisingly, I'm not getting negativity back. But Gemma, what if my partner is doing something wrong and I need to tell my partner this? can be done without negativity. Here's what it sounds like. Sweetheart, and this is, by the way, Imago. Sweetheart, I need to talk to you about a problem we're having. Do you have time now? So in other words, you invite the appointment. And they can say no, but they have to say when they will have time. Or they can say, sure, let's talk about it now. Now remember, you've got two people pledged not to do negativity with each other. So as scary as this is, if I were to say, uh-oh, is this going to be a bad thing? Right away, I'm doing negativity. So we don't do that. So sweetheart, can we talk about a problem? That's not good either. Let me try again. Sweetheart, I'd like to talk to you about a situation we have. Okay, let's say we agree. And it has to be presented as a team problem. The team is struggling because one of us is doing such and such, and I think it's disruptive to the team function. You have to try to say it as carefully as you can. Now, you are inviting the partner to say why they're doing this if they're the one you're talking about. You have to find ways to invite the partner, but you have to keep presenting the team has a problem. Because it does. If one person is unknowingly doing something that is disruptive, the whole team will be disrupted. In other words, you have to start talking about your marriage as a team project. It's not just you against me. Well, here's the problem. You keep doing this, and it's driving me nuts. That is not the approach. The approach is, okay, so I notice you're doing this thing, and I'm not sure how to handle it. And you talk about your feelings, something like that. You don't just go in full-bore attack. Now, you can hear the hesitance even when I describe this, that the couple has to work out what is going to be negative. And yes, one partner can say, I feel you're being negative towards me about that. Fair comment. And the other partner can explain, well, this is the effect I think it's having on our team. And you say, well, you're just saying one partner's point of view is not enough. Actually, I did just say that. As strange as it sounds, when one person is unhappy, the team is disrupted. So this takes practice, and I'm not an Imago therapist, but I will get you that everything starts with agreeing that you will not be negative with your loved ones. It's a very interesting and challenging practice, but when everybody can trust in that, you'd be amazed how much more easy all the difficult discussions are going to become. Okay, I'll shoot. No, not a thing. Just my upcoming races. I'm trying to get ready to run, but I actually tried to get instead the e-bike and the e-scooter out, and that's a whole other story. How there's no place like home. All right, and you can see in the fluffy books, I finished Mary Bennett and the Beast of Rosings Park. I just loved it. I love this series. And I'm currently finishing Mary Bennett and the Shades of Pemberley. And I love that. I cannot say enough good things. This is Joyce Harmon's series, the Mary Bennett books. And Mary Bennett Mage, I think, is the series name. I did not expect to like something this hokey, and I'm really enjoying it. And it's very light-handed. And the best thing is the way Harmon kind of revitalizes a lot of characters you thought were sort of hopeless or snotty or something. I love the way she handles Anne de Burgh and Mrs. Jenkinson. Having said that, I'm also listening to the Mud Puddle Manual of Natural Magic. It's very original. It's very interesting. It has its moments. The take on it is that witches are kind of snobby about their bloodlines. And there are other magical beings in the world coping with this. And you're looking at a group of beings that are half-blooded magical witch and some other magical type of being. It's that uncomfortable, well, one of many, uncomfortable thing in Harry Potter that never got quite solved the way we would like it to be. And so I'm grateful that this author is going there. No, it is not a Harry Potter book. And it's not referencing that world. It's nothing. I think the idea may have come to the author, that the author may have had a lingering sense of dissatisfaction that the racism that is thematic in Harry Potter intentionally in terms of magic users and non-magic users. I think this author may have had a problem that is not as resolved as it could have been. And so she's going back at it again. So I'm enjoying the Mud Puddle Manual of Natural Magic. I also am still carrying the bundle of resistance patterns for ice. And you can find the link there and the link to Crafters Helping Minnesota, which is going to take you to a page with a lot of links for Crafters Helping Minnesota. And I still am carrying the links to donate to people impacted by ice and also to donate to the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota. Project Back episodes on Proton, that's pretty much on a halt. I'm still carrying episodes 201 to 250 of the new series. Green Fingers, I'm weeding. The weather here is cold and then hot and then cold and rainy. And now it is heating up again very, very gradually. My husband is being magnificent. He has a weed whacker out on our 5 acres. And he's hacking down the weeds. Because the one thing that has happened this year is enormous growth on the farm of weeds and everything else. The only thing not coming back well, I'm sad to say, is my Paiute peppermint. It's coming back, but I wouldn't say it's thriving. But we are still pretty early in the season. One of the new peppermints is also thriving. And strangely, my creeping thyme is doing great. And also the autumn sages, one over next to Audrey, the man-eating wisteria, and the other by our driveway. Actually, there's a cluster of them there, and they're flowering, and they're doing great. The one by the man-eating wisteria is turning into a bush, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. So maybe if things go well this year, I'm going to learn about cuttings, because I also want to do cuttings from our rosemary bush, because it's doing sensationally. It is easily 3 times bigger than when I planted it. It's huge. It's just a big old shrub. I didn't think it would do well because of the cold winter we get, but no, it likes being exactly where it is in exactly the worst place it could possibly be. All right. Put a lid on it. Nothing much. I baked a loaf of the pumpkin quick bread from my keto baking cookbook, but otherwise I haven't really been doing much. On to the blather. Well, last Thursday, my beloved boys took the pets to the vet to get all their shots. And that's why we have pictures of the doggies in the car coming back. And apparently, Minerva went too, by the way. And apparently, Queenie just took it like a champ. She was like, yeah, stick needles in my boxy butt. I'm a collie. I got a big, strong butt. I don't care. And all I can say is my husband said Captain was in the room with the vet. They closed the door. And he heard, woo, 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 app. So Captain didn't take it that well. But everybody came home, and they're okay. On Friday, one of my patients who is, I believe, of South American extraction, I'm not going to say which country, he started talking about aguachiles. Aguachiles, if you're speaking it like an Anglo. Aguachiles, that's the best I can do. And I said, well, we have that at our local Mexican restaurant. He said, no, you don't. Well, we do. I told my husband, and he ordered it Friday night. And then he said, do you want a bite? I am here to tell you, when you look at those pictures, you can see the ingredients in the menu. And then you can see the aguachiles. And what you see is onion and cucumber. And that clear stuff, I believe, is uncooked shrimp. Often the shrimp is steamed. And then there's avocado slices. What you can't see, liberally dusted with chili powder. I took one look at the chili powder and chickened out. But for those of you who need a dare, aguachiles, go get them. On Saturday, the beloved son gave platelets, and then the vampires descended because he's a super donor. He is an O positive. And so they got plasma and platelets from him. He was there for like 4 hours. When I say he was there, he was at the Red Cross Center. And I'm just going to say I'm very proud of him for doing this. This is an easy enough thing to do. And it's great for people having serious surgeries and people doing chemo with cancer. Alas, I'm not allowed to do plasma or platelets, so I'm waiting till the 26th when I give my next pathetic little pint of blood. That's what you get for being A+. Meanwhile, I connived and got my husband to take the beloved son to do this. And I just went into Newhall. I just wanted a train ride, but I didn't want to be on the train for the 2 hours to get to Glendale. I went down to Newhall, and I just walked over to the bus stop, picked up the bus to my favorite sushi place, and then walked over to Barnes & Noble and really just had a cup of tea there and caught the bus back and caught the train home and just got an afternoon out of it and loved it. And then there was Sunday where the beloved son wanted to go into the city. So yes, we went down to the city, and as I said, he went to the Science Center, and I decided I needed a hit of yarn for the reasons I told you for the bloodroot tea. And yes, there's yet another link to it sitting there in the show notes. And so I got my yarns. You can see one skein of it. That is Core yarns, which I'd never heard of. And very nice. And it's the Gusto. Sorry, it's Gusto yarns. And it's Core is the name of that particular type. It's a fingering weight. You can see nice solid neutral. Then I met the beloved son at Sea Butter over on Brand Boulevard behind the Americana at the Galleria. And there is my lunch, the Marilyn Monroe, which with a name like that, sure, you're going to eat it. And you can see Sea Butter does a beautiful presentation. I was much happier. The last time we were there, they were a bit snotty with us. This time we had a lovely wait person, and he was very relaxed and mellow, and we had a delicious lunch. Oh, there's my 10-minute warning you're probably hearing for my next patient. At any rate, I continue to carry the links that you know so well for our siblings in the LGBTQIA+ community, and for those of us being haunted by ICE. And also there are the links for the community resources relating to knitting and crocheting and spinning. And there's my calendar. And finally, we get down to Minerva, who's getting the last word. And let's be honest here. This week, my burbs were stuck in Oz trying to get out. My dogs were stuck at the vet getting shots and trying to escape. There is Minerva, and she's at the vet in that picture in her crate, and she is screaming, "Help, help, get me out of here." So Minerva would like you to know that there is indeed no place like home, and she would know. And I would like you to know she had no side effects whatsoever from the shots. She came home. She was very glad to see me. I had to hold her in my lap and talk to her for a while. And then she went and curled up and had a nice nap to get over the stress, and is her typical buoyant self. She is enjoying our new firm mattress. That is to say, she is jealous when my husband and I are in the bed together. So he tends to get up earlier than me, and then she gets on the bed. So Minerva wants you to know that there is indeed no place like home. And that's because that's the foundation of communities, building a happy and peaceful home life. And remember, when we take care of the community, we are taking care of the needs of the individual. Having said that, I must away to see patients. Yes, by the way, it is April 15th, Happy Tax Day, Wednesday at 1:51 p.m. as I record this. So I must away. Everybody stay safe, take care of each other, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.